Every town has a carnival or theme park story. The one parents whisper about long after the lights go out. A ride that spins a little too fast. A scream that cuts through the music. A night where the laughter turns to something else. For most people, the Sizzler ride is harmless. A dizzy blur of lights and motion. But for others, it became the stuff of nightmares. Ejections, crushed bodies, hair pulled into the gears that should have never been exposed, skin torn from scalps. The kind of horror no ghost could dream up, because this terror is man-made. Steel, bolts, machinery that doesn't care who climbs into its seat. Tonight we step behind the amusement curtain, and we look at the dark history behind a ride that operates all over the world. This is the Sizzler, and once you hear what happened on this spinning, twisting machine, you'll never look at it the same way again. This is Death Kiss Traveler. My name is Marissa, your morbidly curious host. Thank you for tuning in. If you are enjoying this podcast, please rate it 5 stars on your favorite app. It really makes a huge difference, and it helps me keep bringing you these stories. Make sure you are following me on TikTok or Instagram at Death Kiss Traveler Podcast. I post photos each episode and keep you updated on current theme park events. If you have a creepy theme park story or haunting photos, I want to see them. Please submit them on my website or send them to me on TikTok or Instagram. It's something new that I want to explore, and I can't wait to see what you guys send me. Today's episode does have a listener warning and may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. When most people walk past a carnival Midway, the Sizzler doesn't stand out. It looks like a harmless blur, a cluster of benches spinning under bright neon lights, music blaring, kids laughing, but behind that cheerful facade lies a complicated machine with a history that spans decades and a design that is far more aggressive than it appears. Before it became one of the most iconic and notorious Midway rides, it went by another name, the Scrambler, and it had surprisingly humble beginnings. Back in 1938, a Georgia inventor named Richard Harris dreamed up a machine that would spin riders so fast their screams blended with the music. He built the very first Scrambler for the Lakewood Fairgrounds, and people couldn't get enough. Within 2 years, he'd already created 2 more, each one a little wilder than the last. By 1941, Harris secured a U.S. patent on his dizzying design, only to later have it scooped up or licensed by the now famous Eli Bridge Company, the same company behind the classic Ferris wheel. Fast forward to 1953, Eli Bridge road tests its new and improved Scrambler. A year later, 5 units were sold, and the ride was officially on its way to becoming a carnival legend. The original had 12 little metal cars attached to 3 spinning arms. Simple, fast, and chaotic. Riders whipped around at 9 to 12 revolutions per minute, which doesn't sound like much until you're inside the thing praying you don't slide into your cousin. Then came its breakout moment. In 1955, at the Florida State Fair, the Scrambler pulls in $1,700 in a single day. At 25 cents a ride in today's dollars, that's roughly $20,000 for flinging families around like laundry in a dryer. Every carnival owner in America wanted one after that. By 1959, the British joined the party. Under license, Edwin Hall brought the Scrambler to the UK, where it became a staple of fairs across the country. And by 1979, the original American-made Eli Bridge models were finally being shipped directly overseas, all across the world, evolving into all of the Sizzlers, Scramblers, and Twisters we see today. The Sizzler, along with variations like the Super Sizzler and other spin-flat rides, is now manufactured by Wisdom Rides, a major name in the traveling carnival industry. Their rides are found at theme parks, state fairs, small-town festivals, and pop-up carnivals across the United States. To the untrained eye, it's just another spinning attraction. To engineers and safety inspectors, it's one of the most deceptively powerful machines on the Midway. Mechanically, the ride is built around a 3-arm system. Picture a giant steel hub in the center. From that hub extends 3 long arms. At the end of each arm sits a circular cluster of cars, usually 5. Each individual car spins on its own pivot point, meaning the rider isn't just spinning in circles, they're spinning within a spinning circle. That is spinning with even a larger circle. 3 rotations, 3 separate axes, all happening at once. I will post a picture online if I didn't describe that well enough. When the ride reaches full speed, the physics become brutal. Centrifugal force slings riders outward, pinning them against the side of the car. The pressure can be so strong that the riders physically can't sit up straight. This force is what makes the ride feel exciting, but it's also what makes the Sizzler extremely dangerous if anything is out of place. A restraint that's loose, a seat that's slick, a rider who shifts even an inch in the wrong direction. On most models, the only restraint is a single shared lap bar across the bench. 2, sometimes 3 riders share that one bar. If one adult sits next to a child, or a smaller rider is next to a larger one, the bar locks in place where it fits best for the biggest person. That means the smallest rider often has extra space under the lap bar, enough to slide, lift, or shift during the ride's most intense centrifugal moments. Some carnivals added seatbelts later, but not all. For years, the lap bar was all you got. Another major safety factor is the ride's constant movement. Once the Sizzler spins, operators can barely see into the cars. If someone starts to slip, stand, lean forward, or if their restraint isn't fully locked, the operator has only a split second to notice, and almost no time to stop the machine before the physics takes over. Experts repeatedly warn that the Sizzler demands strict rider behavior. You must stay fully seated, your back pressed to the seat, feet planted, hands holding on to the bar. No leaning, no shifting, no sliding. Even a small movement at the wrong moment can redirect the force and lift a rider up or sideways. And the risks don't stop with the riders. Because the cars rotate so closely to the ground, even long hair, scarves, dangling belts, or loose clothing can get caught in the rotating mechanisms at the base of the seat. Operators are trained to watch for this, but in the chaos of a carnival with crowds, noise, and constant motion, things get missed. When the ride runs correctly, it's thrilling. When anything goes wrong, a restraint, a rider position, an operator distraction, the Sizzler becomes one of the most unforgiving machines on the fairgrounds. A ride that looks innocent from the outside, but behind its bright paint and flashing lights is a violent mechanical dance, capable of throwing, crushing, or tearing in ways that most parents never imagine when they lift their child into the seat. If you have ever seen the Sizzler in motion, you know how violently those cars swing. Now imagine what happens when something interrupts that delicate balance. When the force isn't pushing a rider into the seat anymore, but out of it. And that's exactly what happened on a cool October night in 2019 at the Deerfield Harvest Festival in New Jersey. Families filled the fairgrounds, kids clutching glow sticks, the smell of fried dough drifting through the air. It was the kind of small-town carnival where nothing bad is supposed to happen, where the biggest danger is usually spilling your lemonade. But for 10-year-old Haley McMullen, that night turned into something else entirely. Haley climbed into a ride called the Extreme, a version of the Super Sizzler. It looked fun, Bright lights, music, kids laughing. She was tiny, excited, and trusting, like any child would be. She sat beside her cousin, pulled the lap bar down, and waited for the ride to start. But remember what we talked about earlier. That lap bar doesn't adjust individually. It locks where it fits the largest rider. Haley was the smallest. When the extreme began to spin, the riders reached full speed fast, whipping the cars into tight, violent arcs. The centrifugal force pushed riders hard to the outside of each bench. In Haley's car, that force wasn't pushing her into the seat. It was pushing her up and sideways. Witnesses later described seeing her shifting, sliding, tilting toward the edge. Someone said she looked like she was rising off the seat. Others swore she tried to pull herself back down, gripping the bar, a terrified child fighting physics. Then in an instant, the motion of the ride flipped from thrilling to catastrophic. At the peak of one of those brutal outward swings, Haley was ejected from the car. Not gently, not like falling out of a chair, but thrown, violently, forcefully into the air. Her body launched by the same power that should have held her into place. She hit the ground hard. Screams followed. The music didn't stop immediately. At carnivals, it never does. For a moment, the world just kept spinning around her. Lights flashing, ride arms still rotating, while her small body lay on the dirt. The operator finally hit the emergency stop. The ride slowed, creaking and groaning. Cars coming to a stop. Parents rushed forward. Performers and workers ran from nearby booths. Someone yelled to call 911. Haley was still alive, but gravely injured. Paramedics stabilized her as best as they could and airlifted her to Cooper University Hospital. Despite their efforts, she died shortly after. Her death triggered an immediate investigation. Inspectors shut down similar rides statewide. Engineers examined the lap bar design. Safety experts questioned whether a belt could have saved her. Carnival industry veterans repeated the same warnings. If riders don't stay fully seated, if operators miss even one small detail, if the lap bar locks with too much room, this ride can turn lethal in seconds. But here's the truth. Haley did everything right. She sat, she held the bar, she didn't stand, she didn't misbehave. She rode exactly the way a 10-year-old girl is supposed to. The machine failed her. The restraint system that was meant to protect her didn't fit her small frame. The physics of the ride, relentless, took over, and in a single moment, the Sizzler revealed its darkest side. A ride that can transform joy into tragedy without warning. Her family still carries that night with them. And so does the town. And the horror doesn't stop there. In April of 2016, a church carnival in El Paso, Texas, held at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church in honor of the Dia de los Niños celebration. It turned into a scene of horror that would forever scar a community. That evening, as dusk settled and children ran between booths, 3 teenage girls climbed into the ride known as the Sizzler. Among them was Samantha, Sam Aguilar, a 16-year-old student at J.M. Hanks High School. Friends remembered her as sweet, driven, and radiant. A young woman with a bright smile who moved through life with joy. As the ride spun faster and faster, joyful laughter and bright lights gave way to something dark. Witnesses later reported that 2 of the girls were violently ejected from the ride. Samantha hit a metal barricade with brutal force. She was immediately attended to. Nearby witnesses described frantic CPR, and a shocking pool of blood formed near her head. Samantha was rushed to Del Sol Medical Center, but the injuries were too severe. She died a short time later. The tragedy left a hole in her family, friends, and her school. At Hanks High School, students gathered in tears. A balloon release was held in her memory, and classmates shared stories of her warmth, kindness, and ambition. The Diocese of El Paso deeply shaken, expressed the profound sorrow. Bishop Mark Seitz called her death incomprehensible, especially in a place meant to celebrate childhood. Diocese of Alexandria, the parish's pastor, said he was shocked, saddened, and brokenhearted. The carnival had been intended as a celebration of family, not a memorial. Meanwhile, the investigation began. Authorities questioned whether the operator or ride vendor had met all required safety regulations. Playtime Amusements, the company that provided the ride, came under scrutiny. The outcome of this story is really hard to find, but the ripples of her death stretched far beyond that carnival lot. It left a community grappling with grief, a family mourning for a young life cut short, and a stark warning that the thrill of carnival rides can hide a violent, unforgiving force, especially when something goes terribly wrong. Not all carnival tragedies are quick ejections. Some linger, some leave scars that last a lifetime. And for 11-year-old Elizabeth Gilreath, Lulu, a day at the festival became one of the most horrifying experiences a child could endure. It was a bright spring afternoon at a Cinco de Mayo festival. The sun was high, the smell of tacos and popcorn filled the air, and families wandered the Midway. Lulu was like any other child, excited, smiling, ready for the rides. Her eyes landed on the King's Crown, a spinning, Sizzler-like ride. The seats rotated, the arms swung, and each car spun around its own axis. It looked fun, inviting, safe. But lurking inside that machine were dangers invisible to the crowd. Lulu climbed in with friends. Her long hair had been braided, but it was still loose enough to swing freely. She sat, pulled down the lap bar, and prepared to spin. As the ride gained speed, centrifugal force began to push and pull. The motion was disorienting, the kind of spinning that can make the brain forget up from down. Chaos. Lulu's hair came into contact with a small gap in the machinery at the base of the car. A single strand caught. Then more. In an instant, the ride turned from joy to an absolute nightmare. The spinning mechanism yanked her hair, ripping a portion of her scalp. Screams cut through the carnival music. The ride operator slammed the emergency brake, but the damage had already been done. By the time Lulu was pulled off the ride, she had suffered life-threatening injuries. She needed multiple surgeries, skin grafts, and reconstructive procedures. A recovery that would last months, possibly years. Her family was devastated, but in the hospital they witnessed something remarkable. Despite everything, Lulu managed a small smile when she first saw herself in the mirror. It was a brave, defiant gesture in the face of trauma. This incident wasn't just a tragic accident, it became a catalyst for change. Safety advocates pushed for stronger ride inspections, tighter mechanical covers, and better hair restraint guidelines. Lulu and her family became voices for reform, ensuring that what happened to her would not happen to other children. King's Crown Ride, which once promised dizzying fun, now carries a shadow. And for anyone who knows Lulu's story, it's a reminder that the carnival rides, for all their thrills, carry risks, invisible until it's too late. The Sizzler's dark history doesn't belong to just one town, one festival, or one unlucky victim. Sizzler has earned its place in the Midways across the world, spinning children, teens, and adults in dizzying arcs of thrill. But the ride carries a shadowed history, and experts have been tracking it for decades. According to the National Ride Safety Consultant, there have been at least 12 serious incidents, deaths, or severe injuries linked to the Sizzler rides in the United States only since the 1900s. That's among more than 200 operating rides nationwide, making each incident a rare but deeply tragic event. And how many more are happening across the world that I haven't come across? In 2004, at a carnival in Ansonia, Connecticut, a seemingly normal day of fun took a frightening turn. A woman enjoying the carnival from the safety of her seat was suddenly struck by a footrest that had come loose from the spinning ride. The metal part flew with force, hitting her in the head and leaving her shaken. She was lucky she was not fatally injured, but the incident underscored a grim truth. Ride itself can become a weapon. Even when the riders are careful, seated properly, and following all the rules. Mechanical failures, loose parts, and maintenance oversights can turn a joyful ride into a hazard. Media and investigative reports suggest slightly higher numbers. Since 2000, the Sizzler and similar rides have been linked to at least 4 deaths, not including dozens of serious injuries. Some sources estimate up to 13 fatalities when including incidents involving similar wisdom-manufactured spinning rides. Safety experts emphasize a troubling reality. These numbers only account for reported and investigated cases. Many smaller accidents, minor injuries, and near misses likely go unreported at traveling carnivals. In other words, the ride's danger extends beyond the headlines, woven into its very design. The spinning cars, the rotating arms, the force that can turn an innocent thrill into a disaster in seconds. Engineering flaws have haunted the ride since its early days. Welds at key stress points, critical bolts, and structural joints have repeatedly been flagged during inspection. These are the points that hold the arms, the cars, and the spinning hub together. The very parts that endure the brutal centrifugal force every rotation. A single loose bolt, a weakened weld, a microscopic crack. Each one can mean the difference between a thrilling ride and a disaster. The maintenance culture of traveling carnivals compounds the problem. Rides are torn down, packed onto trailers, and reassembled week after week, sometimes by different crews with varying experience. Every assembly introduces the potential for error. A bolt might not be fully tightened. Weld might shift under stress. The very nature of the ride's mobility, the constant disassembly and reassembly, increases the risk of failure, turning a mechanical marvel into a hidden threat. In short, the danger isn't always visible. The ride's polished paint, flashing lights, and carnival music conceal the relentless mechanical forces and hidden vulnerabilities within its steel skeleton. From welds, bolts, assembly practices, to seat design, every piece of the Sizzler plays a role in the dark history of its accidents. What drives us to climb aboard rides like the Sizzler? Knowing the stories, the accidents, the injuries, the deaths. There's a strange pull, a mixture of thrill, fear, and fascination that keeps people coming back. Psychologists call it sensation-seeking, the craving for intense experiences, for moments where the heart races and the world tilts in dizzying ways. Riders often underestimate risk, especially in carnival settings. The lights, the music, the laughter, they create a sense of normalcy, even safety. We see friends and families enjoying the ride, and our brain tells us, it's okay, it's just fun. But hidden beneath the spins are the same forces that have hurled children, teenagers, and even adults from their seats. Perception of control also plays a role. Riders believe that if they sit properly, hold the bar, and follow instructions, they're safe. And most of the time, they are. There's the social factor. No one wants to back down in front of peers. Teens feel pressure to prove their bravery. Children mimic older siblings. Adults laugh it off even when nervous. That communal thrill, that shared fear, heightens the experience and ironically increases the risk. And finally, the mechanical chaos itself is addictive. The spinning, the whipping, the sensation of being lifted and pressed against the bar triggers adrenaline, dopamine, and endorphins. For a fleeting moment, riders feel weightless, invincible, and alive. It's precisely this intoxication that masks the danger until it's too late. The Sizzler, in all its bright and dizzying glory, teaches a dark lesson. The very force that gives you joy can take it away in an instant. We have spun through the dark history of the Sizzler, from Haley to Lulu to Samantha in El Paso. Each story reminds us that carnival rides are more than painted steel and spinning lights. They are machines of thrill and peril. One of the eeriest secrets about the Sizzler isn't found in the ride's mechanics or its speed. It's the illusion. We talked a little about it, but the older Sizzler rides, sometimes decades old, are often repainted before each season. Bright reds, electric blues, neon greens slapped on like a smile to hide the years of wear beneath. To the family standing in line, the ride looks brand new, maybe even safer. But carnival inspectors will tell you a different story. Fresh paint is sometimes less about beauty and more about concealment. Under those glossy colors, inspectors have found rusted steel, hairline cracks, and stress fractures that should have pulled the ride off the Midway long ago. And the deeper the inspector looks, the more disturbing the picture becomes. They tell stories of missing bolts, welds repaired with hardware store tools, crude or uneven, done in a hurry just to get the ride open before sunset. Safety pins held together with zip ties, thin plastic, standing in for real safety mechanisms. I have actually seen this on a carnival ride. There was zip ties holding the ride together, and it is absolutely terrifying. Lap bars that don't fully latch, where a good shove or a sudden shift could force them open mid-spin. Operators overriding safety systems, bypassing kill switches, ignoring alarms, or resetting faults without investigating the cause. Unfortunately, this happens more times than you think. Grease smeared over cracks in the arms and joints, not to fix the problem, but to hide it from anyone who didn't know exactly where to look. These aren't stories from a single carnival, but from many, across states, across companies, across the years. To the untrained eye, the Sizzler ride looks reborn with each new coat of paint. But to the inspectors who walk beneath the humming ride at dawn, before the crowds arrive, before the music starts, the truth is unmistakable. And we've talked about before that the inspectors are oftentimes told to look the other way. Some of these machines are old, very, very old. And no amount of paint can hide the danger lurking in the steel that's been pushed, pulled, shaken, and spun thousands of times in thousands of towns. Behind the flash of lights and laughter, the engineering flaws, the constant assembly and disassembly, and the imperfect lap bars all tell a hidden story, one of risk that can never fully be eliminated. Combine that with human desire for thrill, the pull of adrenaline, and the pressure to appear brave, and you have a recipe that can turn a moment of joy into tragedy. And yet we're drawn to it. We watch the rides, we hear the music, we feel the motion, and we participate, knowingly or not, in a dance between control, chaos, joy and danger, life and death. The Sizzler spins on a blur of color and motion, carrying both memories and warnings with it. For those who ride, for those who watch, and for those who remember the victims, the lesson is clear. Thrill comes with a risk, and even the most innocent rides can hold a dark history waiting to catch the unwary. Until next time, remember, every ride tells a story, and some stories never let go. This podcast is written by me, Marissa. This episode is brought to you by Sunkissed Traveler, your guide to unforgettable escapes. When you're ready to trade ghost stories for sandy shores, or step away from the darkness into a little sunshine, let Sunkissed Traveler plan your next getaway. They handle every detail so you can simply enjoy the journey. Start planning your next vacation today with Sunkissed Traveler. I will see you next week.